What's going on, YouTube? It's time for our top 25 heading into week 4 of the college football season. And normally I'll have these videos up early in the morning on Sundays, but I had some stuff come up today, so sorry for the delay. My schedule's kind of getting messed up here at the beginning of the week, but I did at least want to get this video out today. And actually I'm behind the coaches and AP poll this time. Normally I want to try to be, the first poll out, have a poll out before they come out. But let's go ahead and look at it. We'll start at the bottom of my top 25, and a lot of changes this week. We've got Miami at number 21, no change for them. Still haven't really seen them play a game because of the hurricane and all that. They're 1-0, but I really don't know much about Miami at this point. Notre Dame, I moved into the top 25 for the first time at number 22. A pretty good win over Boston College. And, that was a close loss to Georgia, so I feel like they probably deserve to be here, barely making their way into the top 25. Washington State, number 23, moved them up 2 spots. I haven't really been that impressed with this team for whatever reason. They're 3-0, but the way they've won, I haven't been quite as impressed with them. San Diego State, a big win over Stanford. They've beaten Arizona State as well. This is one of those teams to really watch out of the group of 5 teams. And how about Memphis getting that win over UCLA? So they're off to a 2-0 start. So I moved them in to number 25. And I think Memphis and South Florida may be on a collision course there in the American. Up to 16 through 20, I've got TCU at number 16, up from number 20. They struggled a little bit early in the game against SMU, but they wound up winning it pretty easily. Auburn, I dropped 4 spots, 5 turnovers against Mercer. It was not a good performance at all for them. But I think this team is still going to be really good this year, and we'll get into that more on my SEC recap video coming up probably tomorrow. Louisville at 18, just dropped them a couple spots. They played pretty well against Clemson. I have Clemson as being the best team in college football, so I think Auburn played them closer, so that's why I'm Auburn ahead of Louisville. Florida up at 19. Maybe I jumped them up a little too high, but that was a pretty good win over Tennessee. And LSU, a big drop for them as they just did not look very good against Mississippi State. It looked like the same old LSU from last year. Couldn't really get a pass game going, and the defense was really a surprise that they played that poorly. All right, so let's go on to now 11 through 15. Michigan at number 11. Dropped them 3 spots. This is 2 weeks in a row they've kind of struggled. I still think it's because they're such a young team. They're not going to play perfect every week, but a lot of potential there on that Michigan team. Oregon all the way up to number 12, a big win over Wyoming. They have looked really impressive so far. I think Oregon, a team to watch there in the Pac-12 North. Virginia Tech, I didn't realize I moved them up this high, but they had a good performance. That offense really got rolling against East Carolina, and Virginia Tech looking like maybe the favorite out there in the Coastal Division. Florida State, no change. We've only seen them against Alabama. And Mississippi State, the big jump all the way from not even being ranked all the way up to number 15. Mississippi State looks like the real deal. They've been dominant through 3 games. The first 2 were not, tough competition, but what they did to LSU, I was really impressed with this Mississippi State team. So they come in at number 15. Let's go into our top 10 now. USC drops 1 spot. They really didn't look all that good against Texas. Their win against Stanford does not look as good now because Stanford just lost to San Diego State. So, yeah, how good is USC? We really don't know. Georgia in there at number 7, no change for them. An easy win over Samford. Wisconsin up 3 spots. They were dominant against BYU. This team looks like a legit threat there in the Big Ten. Washington up a few spots. You could say that they probably played Fresno State better than Alabama played them. A big blowout win in that game. So I was impressed with Washington. Still haven't really played anybody, though, so we don't know a whole lot about them either. Still, a lot of these teams, again, we don't really know about. We're 3 weeks into the season, and we feel like we know about most of these teams, but there are some that we don't. Ohio State, a pretty tough Army team. They took care of business, won that one pretty easy. So I still got them at number 10. They are the only team in the top 10 with a loss. And so now let's go to the top 5. We've got, again, Clemson, number 1, and a lot of people said, no, you got to keep Alabama there. Do you still think that? I mean, Clemson dominated against Louisville. Lamar Jackson, that Louisville offense, had, going in the 4th quarter, I believe, 190 yards of offense and 7 points. That's it. Clemson, I know they wound up getting a couple more touchdowns there in the 4th quarter, but Clemson kind of got conservative. That Clemson offense looks very good. I think Clemson is as good as they were last year, if not better. Kelly Bryant has really impressed me at the quarterback position. Alabama at number 2, very, very solid performance for them. Colorado State's a pretty good team, so I wasn't surprised that this one, was somewhat close. Not really. I mean, it wasn't close, but it was like a 14-point game at halftime. Oklahoma struggled early. I don't know what was going on in that one, but they wound up pulling away, got an easy win. That win over Ohio State keeps them up there. Penn State, another blowout win for them. And Oklahoma State, a team that looked really good against Pitt. You could probably argue that they played them better than Penn State. So maybe Oklahoma State should be ahead of Penn State. Right now, I've got them up there at number 5. Here are the teams that dropped out of the top 25. Stanford, they were all up at 15. They are now out. South Carolina was at 19. They are out. Kansas State at 23, out. And Tennessee was 24. So all these teams losing this week. South Carolina was definitely the most disappointing team here. I really thought that this team was going to be a real challenger in the East, but they did not look very good against Kentucky. A lot of missed opportunities, missed field goals, didn't convert on 4th down, things like that. Kansas State, disappointed with them as well. Vanderbilt looks like a very solid team, though. Tennessee played Florida right there to the end. It was a pretty good performance by them, but in the end they couldn't get it done. And Stanford now 2 losses in a row. Where do they go from here? All right, so let's look at the other teams that I considered, and there are a lot of good football teams. We have, I think, 16 more teams here. And these are not in any order. I know last week some people were saying, well, you had this team not even in your top 30 or whatever. These are not in any order. These are completely random. But we have Duke, 3-0, Utah, 3-0, NC State, that one loss for them, but they're still looking pretty good. South Florida undefeated. I need to see more out of them. They haven't really played anybody. Georgia Tech with a 1 loss. Iowa and Michigan State undefeated. Colorado undefeated. Maryland 3-0. Indiana and West Virginia both with 1 loss, but they were really good teams. Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and Cal all 3-0. Texas Tech 2-0. Wake Forest 3-0. So out of these teams, we could see, a few of them emerge and crack the top 25 pretty soon. And, a lot of these teams haven't played anybody, and that's why they're not really, into the top 25 yet. I'm just trying to look through here, looking for the most impressive win. Maryland over Texas, maybe. Kentucky over South Carolina. But see, nobody's really won any big games. Say Vanderbilt beats Alabama, which is probably not going to happen, but obviously they would get in the top 25. I think Kentucky maybe plays Florida this weekend. I haven't really looked into the schedule too much just yet. But a big win for one of these teams could get them into the top 25, but we're going to hold off on them for now. And it's very tough. It's getting to that point where it's tough to come up with just 25 teams because there are a lot of good football teams. And then we had the 4 teams that were in the top 25. You add those in, and then you have 20 teams here just outside the top 25. So it's going to be very interesting to see. We're going to really figure out more about these teams in the next week or two. Everybody pretty much going to be starting conference play. That's when you really find out about these teams. So that's my top 25. I've still got Clemson at number 1. I'm sticking by it. I had them number 1 last week, and they went out and took care of business against Louisville. They've got 2 very impressive wins. Alabama has the 1 win over Florida State, but Clemson, the resume is much stronger right now, and I really think Clemson's the best team in college football. I think if they played Alabama, they would win. But it'd be an excellent matchup, and that may be where we're headed. We could get Alabama versus Clemson again in the national championship for the 3rd year in a row. So that would be quite the story there. So that's going to do it for my top 25 this week. Thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more here on the SG1 Sports YouTube channel.